Hi everyone, I'm Soham Shah, and today we are going to talk about Unbundled, the future of web development. So this will be basically revolving around Vite.js and Snowpack, which is the next generation of JavaScript, the third age of JavaScript bundling. So let us see like what's in the box for this talk. So we are going to talk about a brief history of JavaScript bundling. So this is because not everyone of us would be very familiar with that, or maybe not in touch with that, so bringing everyone to the same page. And then we'll be talking about unbundled development, what is the idea behind that, and then we'll be talking about philosophy and science of Snowpack, and then we'll be looking into philosophy and science of Vite.js. And as a conclusion, we will be talking about the comparison between Vite.js and Snowpack, and let you guys decide what fits best for you. So I am Soham Shah, and a full stack engineer currently building web apps at NeoGCamp. I've also completed the NeoGCamp 21 bootcamp, web development bootcamp. I'm super grateful to Tanay Pratap and the whole community for this great insights and knowledge about the overall full stack engineering in general. I've I'm a passionate about open source and currently maintaining Rotten scripts. So we are here to help everyone to get started with open source and make it very accessible and cakewalk for everyone to contribute to the community. Previously, I've interned at Quico as a full stack engineer, and I've also mentored at Girls Trip Summer of Code. Apart from that, I love music, science, philosophy, and memes, of course. Yeah. So before we move ahead, like the theme or like the blocks of this whole conversation will be like, let's talk about the coexistence of science and philosophy. So many times, like you must have seen, like science and philosophy are seen as antonyms, but in this we are introducing a new idea. So for every product idea, for everything that you're building, any technology, in our case Vite and Snowpack, it has majorly two aspects: philosophy behind it and the science behind it. So philosophy tells us about the overall origin of that idea. It tells about the purpose of that idea. It talks about the very existence of that particular thing that we are going to do. So when on the journey of implementing this particular idea with the science as a product, we don't get existential crisis while doing that. On the other hand, the science aspect is very important because it brings the idea to the reality, and it involves research, it involves evolution, and a lot of things, right? Implementation and things like that. So before we like get into the main conversation, a small quote: philosophy without science is blind, and science without philosophy is meaningless. So fun fact is, this idea applies on everything. So feel free like to think around. And yeah, so a brief history of JavaScript bundling and tooling. So before I start, like a small prerequisite that you might need to understand everything, and that is advanced knowledge of quantum mechanics. No, just kidding. You just need to give attention and focus here, because bundling is a bit difficult or off topic, but I will make sure that you will get most of this conversation. So yeah, so what is bundling actually? It is merging everything, every aspect of your code, every part of your code into one file and serve it to the browser. And also today we have a lot of different formats, such as you must have written code using the require syntax, or you must have written code with import export syntax. So these are different types of writing formats, and the browser doesn't understand all the formats, right? So we need to make it a browser readable code. So that is what is bundling. And what if you don't bundle? So consider a scenario that we say that we don't want to bundle. So in current status, what we have been using, so it is very difficult to scale and maintain. That is the first thing. Then you get a lot of scripts, because we are not making toy apps, right? With script today, we are making like the web architecture, and that will be involving a lot of code, right? So it is like inevitable that it will have scope issues, and definitely the readability issues will pop in for the developer. So we actually care about developer experience a lot. So basically it is like, you are told that you should write modular code, you should separate your code into different pieces and utility functions, and then you should also use libraries, right? So libraries uses many libraries uses like common JS syntax, right? So your browser doesn't understand common JS. Okay, so they are written in different formats. Browser cannot read that, and so bundle everything into one. You were told to write in different files, but bundle everything into one for optimization and convert every format available into one, which is readable by the browser. And to do this, use Webpack and Roller for it. Cool, isn't it? Anyways, like people say JavaScript is weird. This is the reason. But if you understand, you will get a lot of things like different players came into picture when it was about brief history, like narrating it. So we had Gulp and Grunt. What they were build tools kind of. They were basically concatenating the code base and serving it. They brought the idea of development server that you must have done like in Create React app or something like that. You have the live server running, so you can see the changes on the development server. Also, then Node.js was introduced. It brought a new modular pattern, which was CommonJS syntax, CommonJS format. And to support that, you need to convert with Browserify or Require.js, because in the web apps, you are going to import NPM packages. And if NPM packages uses CommonJS syntax, it would be hard to for the browser to read. So you need to bundle them. And then came Webpack, Rollup, and Parcel that we are using today. And they are basically converting different sorts of formats such as UMD, AMD, CJS, or even IFEs or ECMAScript modules. That is the latest pattern that we are heading to follow it and generalize it. And then it compiles them for the browser. So the idea of unbundled development. So let us like talk about the problem currently we are having. So remember when you are doing Create React app and when you do React script start. So what happens when you do that npm start or yarn start? The whole Webpack bundler is actually abstracted when you are doing CRA. Webpack is the thing which is being used in the backend. So whenever you are doing Create React app, you are basically using Webpack. So what it does is converts the entire of your code base with all the external dependencies, which can be from node models or anywhere, like, and convert them. And it also has to run through build processes. Like what are build processes? You can, if you have written code in TypeScript, you might need TypeScript compiler. If you have some different types of SAS or less kind of CSS enhancement tools, then you need to pass your code through all the build processes and then push the bundle code to the browser, because you want to see your code change live, right? So the thing is that if it was happening for just one time, we were pretty much okay with that. But this happens for literally every file change. This is a problem, isn't it? Right? We were not talking about this, but today in unbundled development, this is going to be solved at a larger extent. So when your code base length increases, definitely your development speed is going to decrease. And this was the scenario, and this is the scenario when you're doing npx create react app, and you have to wait for ages to get your app running. So most of the time what happens to me is I start scrolling Instagram and I forgot that I was coding in the first place. So this is like totally bad development experience. So we want to solve this, right? So the origin of this idea, the fact that the modern day browsers that we are using for coding the web apps supports the native ECMAScript modules. ECMAScript modules is the import export statement, right? The philosophy is like, do not bundle anything while development, and the science would be like how we are going to embed the philosophy. So transform and serve the source code on demand as browser requested. So we don't bundle everything on every file change. We will be looking into it very soon. But Vite.js and Snowpack actually brought this particular idea. So we don't want to bundle everything while development. We serve ECMAScript module code directly to the browser. So this is the gist of the idea of unbundled development. I'm using memes because kind of it creates a very good impression on our brain, so we don't forget things very quickly. So I hope this helps. So let us start talking about Snowpack. So Snowpack has this philosophy to get you best of both the worlds. So currently the build part is sorted. You don't have any much issues with that. So there are some issues that we will be talking about, but the problem is with development. So when we are writing 100,000, 10,000 lines of code, the development becomes very slow because it takes a lot of time to bundle. The Snowpack tells that we give you fast unbundled development and also optimize performance in your bundled production builds. How cool is that, right? Every file is built individually. So like on every file change, that particular file is only going to be built, not the whole bundle, and cached indefinitely. So basically, if you have 10 files and only one file change, then the other 9 files are not going to be rebuilt because they are already cached in your browser or your memory cache. So Snowpack 3, which is being recently released, has this idea of npm less development. So this is very amazing idea that we'll be looking in a moment. And the production build, so how Snowpack handles production is about, like, there are tons of plugins available to optimize, to have the best build possible. So yeah, so what is the science behind Snowpack? Let us get a bit understanding. We just discussed, right? So the build, on every file chain, there is a build happening for that particular file, and the whole bundle of your 10,000 liner code is going to be recompiled. And then on another file change, this is going to be happening again. So this is in the case of Webpack. But in Snowpack, what does, like, on every file change, it doesn't bundle. So it takes like almost very less of the time. So the idea of npm less development, so it's very interesting. So currently we have everything in node modules, right? So node modules has all the libraries and stuff like that. If we are importing anything in our code, it's coming from the node modules, right? But Snowpack 3 brought this idea of streaming imports, which basically fetches your modules directly from a CDN. So CDN is package.snowpack.dev. So anyone who wants to explore this can read this, read about Skypack, which is also created by the creator of Snowpack. So we are not having node models in our code base. This is the ultimate level of evolution that we are going to see in the next few years. So it's amazing, right? You don't have node modules, so don't kind of have the hassle of deleting node modules, right, in the first place. So yeah, so it is imported from the CDN, and this is how it works. In production build, it has the built-in support for ES build, and but ES build is currently not production ready. So a brief about ES build. ES build is bundler like Webpack and Rollup, right? We just saw like what bundlers do, right? So ES build is like built-in support by Snowpack. Though Snowpack doesn't forcefully tell you to bundle your code, bundle only if you need. That is the philosophy that Snowpack follows. And but currently, if you are working on a very large app and you want to use Snowpack, then they suggest that use the plugin for Webpack, which the Snowpack community provides. So you are getting all the powers of the Webpack plugin, and you can go with your optimized production build with that. So that is recommended currently by Snowpack. So yeah, that there will be no node models. There will be no memes saying that node models is the heaviest object in the universe. Sorry for web developers. This is not going to be there in the near future. So Vite.js, let us talk about Vite.js. The philosophy that Vite.js follow is find a way to do least in development and let browser handle more for you. Like Vite.js also has similar philosophy as Snowpack, but implementation are a bit different. So let us discuss that. So we just pre-bundles your non-ESM format dependencies before even starting the development. So that is a new thing that we are going to explore in a moment. For production build, Vite.js is a lot much opinionated. So thing is that Vite.js tells you that let us handle the build part, the bundling part. We will be handling that, and you people focus on majorly around writing business logic, writing code, making open source projects. You focus on that. Let us handle the build part, the product, the bundling part, right? So it has opinionated ways, but it's a perk if you see in a way. So what is the science behind Vite.js? So it has bundle based dev server. So at an entry point, sorry, before it used to be in this way, bundle based web server is the thing which Webpack has, right? So in entry point, it finds, and then it finds the routes and creates modules, and once the whole thing is created, then it makes a bundle and then gives it to the server. So this is the reason why npm start is very slow, because it has to go through all your different routes, all your components, and then create a bundle, which you just saw, right? But today, with Vue.js, it provides a different approach. You can see like it is almost reversed, right? So it's when the server is ready, it makes the HTTP request to the entry point, and the entry point has different routes. For example, if you have home route, so all the modules that are required by home route will only be loaded, right? And the other routes will be dynamically imported based on the needs, and you don't have to bundle the whole thing. And this is the development part, right? This is not going to happen in production, but in the development, this actually improves the speed to a very fast rate. Pre-bundling with ES build. So ES build, we just saw like it is a fast bundler, like it is super fast bundler written in Go language, and it is used to convert a lot of internal modules of dependencies into one module, so that can improve performance in a drastical way. Like this would make more sense when you will like write your code on your own, and you will get a lot of insights. Production build, Vue.js has the build powered by rollup. So we just saw like ES build is faster than rollup as they claim because it is written in Golang. So why we are using rollup? So in build, apart from just the speed, we have a lot of other features that are to be seen, right? Code splitting, better CSS handling, async chunk optimization, etc. stuff are not yet supported by ES build, and that is why they tell that it is not production ready, right? So production ready is roll up, and that's why we just tells that if you're building something very significant, don't go for ES build currently. We are giving you roll up, but it is almost zero config thing. So it will be like you just have to write nothing for making your web app work. So comparison between Snowpack and Vite. So this is kind of a very recap of what we just heard. So it has front-end framework templates. So that is the thing. Most of the build tools support that. Hot module replacement. So this is the live server with React that we have. So this is cool thing because on every change, the whole app doesn't refresh, that page doesn't refresh. Plugin support, I would say Snowpack has better plugin support at the moment, but things can change. We have no idea, like but they both have very good mature plugin support, so you can configure your things very well. Out of the box support for TypeScript, CSS modules, Babel, etc., things like that. So the thing is like currently, even if you have in case written webpack config file, you have to write 100 things. You have to import 100 things for Babel, for React, and a lot of things, right? They are the mess that developers doesn't like. So we have out of the box support for these things. So let Snowpack and Vite handle that for you. And instant server startup, that is another cool thing that they provide. Comparison between Snowpack and React also includes the exclusive part, right? The Snowpack exclusive is having the streaming imports. So we just saw, right, NPM less development. But let me make a point here. It is not necessary to have this feature. If you want this, you can have. Else, if you want to go with node module side, you can definitely go with that. That is also fairly possible. Powerful plugin support and more configurable. So this is the point I want to stress in. Like today, I feel that okay, I don't want to use rollup. I want to use webpack only. Or if there is another bundler which has a plugin available for Snowpack, I want to use that. I don't want to go with the thing which you give me. I want to configure my stuff. So this is what Snowpack is like, has an edge over Vue.js. But Vue.js has a library mode, which is so far the best features I've seen in any build tool. Recently, I published my NPM package for infinite scroll component, and it was almost zero config to do that. So I would highly recommend to check out these features. Also, it has CSS code splitting, async chunk loading, universal plugin support, and it is more opinionated compared to Snowpack. But these are kind of an advanced stuff. So to the scope of this talk, my aim is to get you interest in this, and definitely try out these things. Won't take more than 2 hours of your time, so surely check them out. uh, so let us see the code quickly. So you can see like this is the React Snowpack part, right? This is the Snowpack's code. So you can see the This code structure is very familiar, right? This is almost similar to React, which we have in Snowpack config. This is what makes Snowpack different from Vite. There are a lot of configurations available, and you have to configure a lot of things. So if you mess something up in this particular file, your build is not going to be run, right? So that will be making pull your heads, right? So cool. Then this is most of, like, this is also something that you have to configure for hot model replacement and kind of things. So documentation is amazing, so definitely you can check that out. Now let us like quickly see Vite. So what Vite has, it has a different kind of folder structure, but fairly simple. It also has a config file, but see, like, config file is just 7 liner. So this is what React Vite provides. It abstracts out the whole configuration and produces an optimized bundle. So you can see, like, the bundle is produced with just one command. And Snowpack has also is its build folder when you run a yarn build or npm build, and it has the list in that you have this bundle. So you can definitely export that, and it makes things very simple. Let me like quickly show you one thing. So when we do yarn create Vite, like, remember the days when we used to do npx create react app my app, right? Like, see this, like, it will be very quickly I can show you. So when I do yarn create Vite, it almost did almost everything. And like project name, it is asking, I can do it, and then it is asking what template or framework I want to choose. I choose React, and then it is telling, okay, variant, I want just normal JavaScript, and it is done, right? So when I go to the project and when I do yarn, it will install all the dependencies very quickly compared to what we had in React scripts or npx create React app. It is very faster, right? Almost it is on the verge of end. And then you can do yarn run dev. Sorry, yarn run dev or yarn dev, both will work. So you can see, like, it is up. Remember, like, in create React app, it took around, like, at least took a few seconds or minutes to have this server running, and I have this running on my web, and it is working perfectly. Awesome, isn't it? So yeah, this is almost everything that I wanted to discuss today about this. Feel free to reach out to me. We can have a great conversation. At Twitter, my DMs are open. At GitHub, you can contribute or open issues for whatever you have some discussions to do. On LinkedIn and Instagram, I have a meme page in case if you are a fan of coding memes, you can follow that as well. And yeah, this talk doesn't end here. I have curated a small list of supplies that you can refer as a post read. These are the resources that I referred, the podcast that I listen, or the research basically I did before this talk. So it will be very insightful. Thank you. I guess you enjoyed the talk.